Wealthy people manage their money very differently from what most people imagine or believe. While many chase fast gains, the wealthy rely on a simple system that rarely changes. The simplicity surprises people because they expect complex strategies used by sophisticated financial experts everywhere. I'm Max, and I've spent years studying how genuinely wealthy individuals handle their income consistently. What I discovered is surprisingly accessible because their core system works for almost everyone today. It doesn't require fancy hedge funds or secret market insights whispered behind closed doors. Instead, it relies on a formula that quietly builds long-term stability for disciplined people. Today, I'll break down that exact formula and show you how to use it effectively. It's known as the 15-65-20 rule, a structure guiding every financial decision. By the end of this video, you'll understand each percentage and why it truly matters. The financial industry often complicates everything to make people feel dependent on professional management constantly. But the fundamentals of wealth haven't changed in decades, and they remain surprisingly easy to understand. Wealth isn't determined by income alone, but by what your money does after arriving. You can earn six figures yet remain broke if your financial structure lacks boundaries consistently. Meanwhile, someone earning far less can accumulate wealth with patient discipline and a consistent framework. So let's unpack the rule and discover the logic that separates sustainable success from struggle. Think of this rule as a recipe because predictable results come from predictable ingredients used correctly. The first percentage, 15%, is the most critical building block of financial security. This portion of every paycheck exists exclusively for your future, not your immediate desires today. It doesn't pay bills or entertainment. Its only purpose is working quietly while you sleep. 15% may seem intimidating when money feels tight or expenses already look overwhelming sometimes. But understanding its purpose makes the habit easier because it serves two powerful financial missions. The first mission is creating your personal safety net for life's unpredictable and stressful emergencies. Cars break, jobs disappear, and medical bills appear suddenly without considering your monthly financial schedule. Without a buffer, these moments create panic that leads directly to high-interest debt and long setbacks. With a buffer, the same crisis becomes inconvenient instead of destructive, preserving your long-term stability. The second mission of this 15% is fueling real wealth through steady compound interest. Compound interest multiplies your contributions by generating returns that eventually compound on themselves automatically. It creates a snowball effect that becomes extraordinarily powerful when given enough time to grow. Let me show you why timing matters through a simple comparison I often use when teaching. Imagine Sarah investing $10,000 at age 30 with a 6% annual return. She never adds another dollar, yet 20 years later her account grows to over $32,000. Now imagine James waiting until 40 but contributing $2,000 annually for 10 straight years. He invests twice as much as Sarah, yet ends with slightly less money at 50. This difference shows how time can outperform larger contributions when compounding receives extra years. Even modest early efforts create significant long-term advantages that late starters often underestimate greatly. So where should your 15% actually go to maximize growth without unnecessary risk exposure? Wealthy individuals prioritize tax-advantaged accounts because these accounts protect gains from constant tax erosion. If your employer offers matching contributions, that match represents truly free money you shouldn't ignore. Failing to contribute enough to receive the full match is leaving effortless returns untouched every year. After securing employer matches, wealthy people use retirement accounts like traditional or Roth IRAs strategically. These accounts allow investments to grow without immediate taxation, accelerating long-term compounding significantly. The principle is simple. Maximize tax-advantaged space first before using regular taxable investment accounts. When it comes to investing, wealthy people prefer straightforward diversified index funds instead of speculation. They buy broad market exposure because predicting individual winners is exhausting, risky, and rarely effective. Index funds act like sampler platters, giving tiny pieces of many companies instead of one fragile bet. This removes the pressure to guess correctly and avoids emotional decisions based on unpredictable market swings. Fees stay low, returns stay consistent, and stress remains manageable when investing becomes a long-term habit. Wealth grows from consistency, not brilliance, which is why simple strategies outperform complicated ones over decades. Before we continue, I want to know your mindset. Do you invest early or wait longer? Drop a number 1 if you start early or 0 if you're beginning later today. Your response helps guide this community, so share yours and let's support each other's financial growth. Now let's move into the 65% category, which represents your essential living expenses every month. This category includes housing, transportation, groceries, utilities, insurance, and other necessary costs required for daily life. The challenge is that these expenses quietly expand as income increases, creating lifestyle inflation without conscious awareness. Lifestyle inflation happens when improved earnings lead to upgraded habits instead of improved financial security overall. You get a raise and suddenly your old apartment feels small even though it worked perfectly. Colleagues buy new cars and suddenly your reliable older vehicle looks outdated despite running flawlessly today. Vacations grow slightly more luxurious. Restaurant meals become more frequent, and expectations shift subtly upward. It mirrors Parkinson's law. Expenses naturally expand to fill the available income without resistance. The 65% cap exists to prevent this slow drift that destroys long-term financial momentum easily. Setting a boundary forces intentional decision-making instead of emotional upgrades driven by convenience or comparison. This percentage is not about deprivation, but about designing a life that leaves space for wealth. Housing usually consumes the largest portion, making it the most important area for disciplined choices. There's a difference between having a home you enjoy and stretching financially for unnecessary perfection. Many wealthy individuals intentionally live below their means early to accelerate long-term financial leverage. Even a few $100s saved monthly on housing can compound into tens of thousands over time. Transportation is another area where smart choices unlock huge financial flexibility for many American households. The average American car payment exceeds $700 monthly, creating massive pressure on budgets. A reliable used car might cost less than half that amount while still meeting every practical need. The $400 difference invested monthly for 10 years can surpass $60,000 easily. Suddenly, the shiny new car looks significantly less attractive when compared to long-term wealth potential. Groceries and food expenses also swing dramatically, depending on convenience habits and emotional spending patterns. Cooking at home saves money while giving you more control over nutrition and portion sizes regularly. Restaurant meals become meaningful treats rather than expensive defaults, quietly draining your financial bandwidth. Utilities, insurance, and basic services should also be reviewed periodically to avoid unnecessary recurring increases. Many people overpay simply because they never revisit plans or negotiate better rates with providers. The 65% rule encourages awareness, ensuring your lifestyle remains supportive rather than restrictive financially. It's about designing a stable foundation so the 15% can grow uninterrupted for decades. Without boundaries, financial progress becomes inconsistent and unpredictable, making long-term goals feel repeatedly delayed. By maintaining discipline in essentials, you preserve energy and resources for more meaningful financial priorities. You also reduce emotional stress because your bills stay manageable regardless of short-term income fluctuations. Discipline here isn't punishment. It's the gateway to real autonomy that compounds over years. Now let's shift into the final category, which often surprises people more than the other two. The last 20% is dedicated entirely to enjoyment, spontaneity, hobbies, and personal experiences you value. Many assume wealthy people avoid discretionary spending entirely, but sustainability requires a balanced emotional approach. When people deny every pleasure, they eventually burn out and abandon their financial structure completely. The 20% prevents burnout by giving you guilt-free space to enjoy life intentionally. It operates like a pressure valve, reducing frustration while keeping your long-term strategy intact. Think of it as the psychological reward system that makes disciplined saving easier over decades. Without this category, people treat saving like a strict diet and eventually binge on emotional purchases. Research shows that controlled flexibility dramatically increases someone's likelihood of maintaining lifelong financial habits. This 20% can include travel, clothing, concerts, hobbies, or anything that genuinely enriches you. The key is intention, not randomness. You choose what matters instead of reacting impulsively. Wealthy individuals respect this boundary and stop spending discretionary funds once the monthly budget ends. They don't borrow from future months, and they absolutely never touch the 15% category. Maintaining these boundaries builds trust with yourself, reinforcing discipline and long-term momentum steadily. It transforms financial management from restrictive punishment into a supportive system you can sustain. This structure helps you enjoy today without damaging tomorrow, creating balance instead of conflict. Many overlook this category, but it may be the true secret behind sustainable wealth building. Without emotional sustainability, even mathematically perfect plans collapse under real-life pressure and frustration. The 20% empowers you to enjoy life rather than postponing happiness for decades unnecessarily. With this balance, the 15-65-20 rule becomes a lifestyle instead of a temporary experiment. It's a framework designed to adapt with your income, goals, and personal circumstances over time. Now let's address a concern many people have when hearing this rule for the first time. What if your current income feels too tight to fit these exact percentages comfortably each month? Many people spend 90% or more of their income simply surviving without meaningful flexibility available. Hearing about structured percentages can feel discouraging when your budget already seems impossibly stretched today. But here's something wealthy individuals understand that changes everything about long-term financial transformation. Progress doesn't require perfection, and starting small still builds powerful habits that compound dramatically. If 15% feels impossible, begin with 5% and build consistency from that manageable starting point. If essentials consume more than 65%, aim for 75% until your situation improves gradually. The numbers are a destination, not a requirement on day one, so pace yourself intentionally. What matters most is establishing boundaries that reinforce discipline and reduce emotional decision-making each month. Once you trust yourself to follow small percentages, adjusting them becomes significantly easier over time. This is how most wealthy individuals began, often long before anyone considered them financially successful today. They didn't wait for perfect circumstances. They created momentum by consistently choosing better options available. When income increased through raises or promotions, they kept percentages stable instead of expanding lifestyle habits. This prevented lifestyle inflation from swallowing new income and allowed faster progress in building wealth. The formula grows with you because the percentages stay constant even as the dollar amounts increase. This builds automatic financial discipline that strengthens as your financial capacity expands through your career. Without structure, income growth often disappears into random spending rather than strategic long-term gains. With structure, progress becomes predictable, measurable, and deeply empowering across different stages of life. Now let's zoom out and look at why this rule creates such lasting results for many people. The 15% builds future freedom, the 65% establishes stability, and the 20% supports joy. These pillars cover both the emotional and mathematical components of long-term financial success. Most financial systems collapse because they ignore the emotional realities of human behavior under pressure. But this framework includes enjoyment intentionally, which protects your motivation during challenging or busy seasons. It also prevents burnout by giving you permission to enjoy spending without guilt or frustration. The balanced design makes it easier to continue the system long enough to see results accumulate. Wealth is rarely about intensity. It's almost always about consistency over extended periods of time. A steady approach outperforms extreme effort because it doesn't rely on short-lived bursts of motivation. Most people underestimate the power of predictable actions compounded across years of disciplined decision-making. This rule creates those predictable actions by turning financial management into a repeatable monthly routine. Over time, these small monthly choices become the foundation of generational financial stability and opportunity. This structure also reduces anxiety because you always know exactly where your money should go. Instead of guessing or stressing, you follow predetermined percentages that support long-term financial security. It removes uncertainty and replaces it with clarity, reinforcing confidence and reducing emotional spending impulses. Each category protects the others, creating a balanced ecosystem that supports your growth and resilience. The 15% protects your future, the 65% protects your present, and the 20% protects your mind. When these elements work together, your financial system finally feels sustainable instead of exhausting or chaotic. This is the approach wealthy individuals rely on because it doesn't depend on unpredictable market timing. It doesn't require extreme risk or constant monitoring of complicated financial data every single week. It succeeds through stability rather than speculation, which is why long-term outcomes are remarkably consistent. Think of this rule as a quiet engine running in the background, gradually building stability and momentum. With time, this engine compounds into meaningful wealth that supports significant life decisions or opportunities. It gives you freedom to pursue choices that align with your values instead of financial survival. Eventually, money becomes a tool instead of a source of constant stress, worry, or disappointment. The biggest shift isn't external, it's the internal confidence gained from controlling your financial direction. Control builds confidence, and confidence reinforces better decisions, creating a positive loop of improvement. This loop grows stronger every month you maintain your percentages and honor your financial structure. Over years, this discipline becomes a defining advantage, separating you from people who drift financially. The gap between a structured and unstructured money grows wider with time, eventually creating noticeable differences. But the difference didn't come from luck. It came from simple, consistent choices repeated without interruption. This is the real formula wealthy people follow, free of unnecessary complexity or unrealistic expectations. It's a formula designed for ordinary people who want extraordinary financial stability through steady discipline. Now let's talk about how this rule actually feels once you start applying it consistently each month. At first, the structure might feel unfamiliar because most people never organize their finances with clear boundaries. But within a few months, your spending becomes more intentional because emotional purchases decrease noticeably. You begin recognizing patterns that once drained your budget silently without contributing real value anywhere. The 15% becomes a non-negotiable habit instead of something you debate or postpone regularly. This shift transforms saving from a stressful chore into an empowering decision supporting your long-term goals. The 65% becomes easier to manage because your spending aligns more closely with genuine priorities. You start seeing unnecessary upgrades as distractions instead of rewards, strengthening your financial discipline naturally. The 20% becomes a joyful space where you invest in experiences instead of stress-driven purchases. This category helps you appreciate what you buy because you select things intentionally rather than impulsively. Over time, you feel calmer because your money finally follows a clear structure instead of chaos. Financial stress decreases because each dollar has a purpose, reducing anxiety about unpredictable expenses. You stop fearing surprise bills because your safety net grows steadily, ready for unexpected disruptions. This confidence influences other choices like career decisions, personal goals, and long-term planning strategies. People often underestimate how financial stability improves emotional well-being and daily mental clarity. When money feels predictable, your mind has more space for creativity, focus, and meaningful relationships. The biggest benefit is not wealth itself, but the peace of mind created through consistent discipline. Eventually, this system becomes second nature, functioning automatically without requiring constant effort or stress. You start viewing financial decisions through the lens of percentages rather than emotional reactions or impulses. That perspective protects you from lifestyle pressure, social comparison, and unnecessary financial drama. You no longer feel the need to keep up with people buying things you don't actually want. Instead, you focus on goals that matter, like freedom, security, and opportunities for your future. This mindset shift is why wealthy individuals maintain their status long after achieving initial success. Their structure protects them from reckless decisions that often sabotage people who achieve sudden income increases. Without structure, higher income simply accelerates poor habits, creating larger problems instead of solutions. With structure, growth becomes predictable, sustainable, and deeply rewarding as your future expands steadily. The 15-65-20 rule keeps ambition grounded while still giving room for meaningful enjoyment. It honors both discipline and humanity, balancing logic with emotion for a stable long-term approach. Many budgeting methods fail because they demand perfection instead of building resilience into the structure. This rule embraces real life by allowing flexibility, mistakes, and adjustments without losing overall direction. It prepares you for financial seasons marked by unpredictability, change, or temporary difficulty. When income drops unexpectedly, your safety net helps you maintain stability while adjusting the percentages thoughtfully. When income rises, your discipline prevents lifestyle inflation from erasing the new financial opportunity. This gives you greater control during transitions, helping you navigate life's changes with confidence and clarity. Eventually, your investments grow enough that they begin influencing your lifestyle in positive ways. The more your money works for you, the less pressure you feel to earn aggressively from work. This balance creates freedom to make choices that reflect values instead of financial desperation. You might pursue new skills, switch careers, start businesses, or explore passions with reduced financial risk. These opportunities emerge because you created a system designed to support long-term stability and flexibility. Over years, your financial identity changes from reactive to proactive, from stress to strategic. You become someone who controls their financial direction instead of drifting without clarity or purpose. This transformation is gradual but powerful, shaping your life with every consistent month you follow the rule. By embracing structure, you unlock options that many people miss because their finances stay unpredictable. Options create confidence, and confidence creates more opportunities, forming a sustainable cycle of progress. This is why wealthy individuals rely on systems instead of emotional decision-making or unreliable motivation. Systems work even when life becomes stressful, busy, or uncertain, protecting your financial foundation reliably. They ensure your future isn't determined by mood swings, impulses, or temporary challenges appearing unexpectedly. The 15-65-20 rule is one of the simplest and most effective systems available. It doesn't require high income, specialized knowledge, or complicated tools to start using it today. You only need willingness, patience, and the discipline to apply percentages consistently without negotiation. Many people underestimate what consistent structure can accomplish because progress feels slow in the beginning. But slow progress compounded over years becomes extraordinary, shaping a future you once thought unreachable. What begins as a small habit eventually becomes a defining advantage, shaping your financial life completely. Structure removes guesswork and replaces anxiety with confidence, grounded in clear, predictable monthly decisions. When your money follows a system, your emotions lose their power to sabotage your long-term plans. This stability improves relationships because financial stress often disappears as predictability increases significantly. It also strengthens self-respect because you consistently honor commitments you make to your future. You begin seeing yourself as someone capable of building wealth through long-term discipline and patience. That identity shift becomes a driving force behind future decisions, reinforcing your commitment continuously. You start evaluating purchases differently, recognizing which choices support or sabotage your financial direction. Over time, this awareness becomes automatic, helping you avoid mistakes without feeling restricted or frustrated. You naturally prefer long-term gains over short-term impulses because the benefits become increasingly obvious. The structure becomes a lifestyle, one that aligns your daily habits with your highest financial priorities. Eventually, you look back and realize most progress came from small, consistent decisions compounded intentionally. You'll notice that discipline becomes easier because each month strengthens your habits more deeply. This is how wealth is built quietly, through steady commitment rather than dramatic financial breakthroughs. Every paycheck becomes an opportunity to reinforce your foundation instead of fueling unnecessary consumption. You no longer chase quick wins because you trust the system guiding your long-term progress. This trust frees you from pressure to time markets, predict trends, or chase speculation desperately. Instead, your focus shifts toward living intentionally, building sustainably, and planning thoughtfully for your future. The 15-65-20 rule becomes a compass that keeps you aligned in chaotic financial environments. It guides you through uncertainty with clarity, ensuring your momentum never disappears unexpectedly. With time, your savings grow, your investments strengthen, and your financial stress fades significantly. These changes accumulate quietly until they transform the opportunities available throughout your life. This transformation might feel slow at first, but its compounding impact becomes undeniable with patience. Many people wish for better finances, but few commit to the consistent structure required for success. By choosing structure, you separate yourself from the majority and move steadily toward financial independence. And that independence gives you freedom to design your life on your own terms confidently. You gain control over time, decisions, and opportunities instead of reacting to financial emergencies constantly. This is the deeper promise behind the rule, building a life shaped by intention instead of survival. When money supports your choices, you gain freedom to pursue passions, relationships, and meaningful experiences. That freedom becomes the ultimate return on investment, far greater than simple numerical wealth accumulation. Remember that wealthy individuals rarely rely on luck. They rely on disciplined long-term structures consistently. Their results look impressive, but the daily habits behind them are surprisingly simple and repeatable. You can replicate those habits by applying this rule with consistency, patience, and clear personal goals. You don't need wealth to start the process. You need commitment to continued financial growth. Most people wait for perfect conditions, but perfect conditions almost never appear in real life. Starting now, even imperfectly, puts you ahead of people who delay until conditions feel ideal. Begin with what you can manage, then improve the percentages as your stability gradually increases. Your future self will thank you for choosing progress instead of waiting for perfection endlessly. The rule protects you, supports you, and guides you through unpredictable seasons without losing direction. It ensures that both your present and future remain balanced rather than competing constantly. So take a moment and think about which percentage you can begin adjusting this month realistically. Identify one actionable change that brings your finances closer to the structure you want. Share that change in the comments because your decision might inspire someone else watching today. Building wealth becomes easier when a community encourages discipline, consistency, and long-term thinking. Before we wrap up, remember that your money should be working for you, not the opposite. When you prioritize structure, life gradually feels lighter, calmer, and more aligned with your values. The 15-65-20 rule gives you a proven path to follow through every financial season. Follow it consistently and watch how your financial stress decreases while opportunities expand meaningfully. If this rule makes sense to you, try applying it to your next paycheck and observe the impact. And if you found this helpful, consider subscribing because more practical tools like this are coming. Comment where you're watching from today and which percentage you'll adjust first to begin changing everything. Your future self is waiting, so start now and build the financial freedom you truly deserve through discipline.